Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name's Dr. Ghost and today we are going to be taking a look at my top 5 most favorite cruisers in World of Warships Legends. That's right. So yesterday, or the day before yesterday, we did a video covering my top 5 most favorite destroyers. So we're going to be moving on to the cruiser category, okay? Yeah. And then, of course, for the next video, we'll probably do the battleships to end it off. So, yeah, anyway, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and start off with our number 5 pick on the top 5 list of my most favorite cruisers, and that has to go to none other, my number 5 pick here, the Prince Eugen. Yeah, the Prince Eugen. This is actually, believe it or not, the Prince Eugen is my very first 750,000 GXP ship. I do quite like it. I don't play it as much as I did when I got it, but I still take it out from time to time, and I really do enjoy it. Number 1, the history of the Prince Eugen is really interesting. The Prince Eugen actually survived the whole war in World War II. She served alongside the Bismarck. The Bismarck went down, but the Prince Eugen actually managed to escape and head back to port and remain there pretty much through for the remainder of the whole war. And then after World War II, she was given to the United States Navy and renamed to USS Prince Eugen. And then later, I believe in the 1950s, the Prince Eugen was used as a test ship during the Bikini Atoll atomic bombing tests. So yeah, you guys can actually see her today, which I am going to put a picture up there for you guys to look at. There we go. That's the Prince Eugen at the Bikini Atoll. Pretty interesting. But yeah, anyway, enough of the history. I love getting into the history of some of these ships, although I'm not very good at explaining some of the history, but I try my best with the knowledge I have. You guys got to remember, too, I don't even use a script for my videos, so anyway, the reason why I love Prince Eugen so much is, well, number 1, her sonar. Her sonar is some of the best at the tier. 5.6 kilometer range for ships, 5 kilometer torpedo detectability. German sonar is just, mwah, it's absolutely disgusting. You guys can also, if you wanted to, you could put on a reload booster, but the reload, I really don't care. I want to have that German sonar. Missing out on German sonar is like a no-no. You need that German sonar. You just do, okay? Now, the one thing that makes the Prince Eugen good, too, is the fact that she has really good survivability. 45,000 hit points, and she has also pretty good armor. Her armor is really strong, like most Tier 7 heavy cruisers. She's got 27 millimeters everywhere, which helps you against ships with 15-inch guns or bigger. So you can manage to bow tank a lot of ships with armor piercing. The only things you have to worry about is, of course, high explosive spam, and, of course, getting shot at by high caliber armor piercing. Another thing you got to worry about is getting her engine knocked out. That's one downside too with the Germans, especially the Prince Eugen and the Hippa. Very prone to getting their engines knocked out. But the things that make the Prince Eugen and the Hipper so good is their guns. Their guns are fantastic. They're 203 millimeter guns. They're 8-inch guns, and they're really solid. I wouldn't say they're as better as American 203s, but they're still up there. And they actually have a higher damage, so there's that. But also, this ship gets access to torpedoes. Now, the Prince Eugen doesn't get just any torpedoes. She gets 8-kilometer torpedoes, 6 on each side. Really strong ship at Tier 7. And I'm surprised that Wargaming hasn't given her any buffs. She's been kind of left behind. The Hipper's been getting a bunch of buffs, but the Prince Eugen's been just hanging back. So it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But overall, Prince Eugen's really fun. I like it. It's still a solid pick at Tier 7. If you guys like the Hipper, I'm sure a lot of you guys will absolutely love the Prince Eugen. This thing is fantastic. There's nothing wrong with Prince Eugen, even though it hasn't gotten much if any of the buffs that the Hipper has gotten. So, yeah, that's why the Prince Eugen is taking my number 5 spot. I quite like this cruiser. I really do. Now, moving on to the number 4 spot on my top 5 list of cruisers, that's going to have to go to none other than the Tier 6 American heavy cruiser, USS Indianapolis. And she's just not any heavy cruiser. No. She is a premium heavy cruiser, just like the Prince Eugen. So she's really solid all around. Not in terms of armor, but in terms of firepower, which we're going to get into. But a little bit of history on the Prince Eugen. Prince Eugen was also pretty significant in history as well. Prince Eugen was the ship that actually transported the nuclear components for the 2 atomic bombs that were dropped on Pearl Harbor and Nagasaki. This ship right here is a very historically significant ship. The captain of the USS Indianapolis did not even know what he was transporting. He was given an order directly from the President of the United States to transport the 2 nuclear components that would be used later on the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And after she delivered those nuclear components, she was then sunk by a Japanese submarine, I-58, in, I believe, near around the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. And one thing, too, about the Indianapolis, kind of tragic, but her whole entire crew, most of them died. There was not many survivors. And believe it or not, the USS Indianapolis, when it sank, the survivors that were all left adrift in the water were literally left to fend for themselves. And there was absolutely brutal shark attacks. Men were going without food. Sharks were absolutely eating most of them alive. And the captain of the Indianapolis would later actually survive. He didn't actually go down with the ship, which is quite controversial, and he would get court-martialed. He was one of the only U.S. captains. Actually, he was the only captain in the United States Navy during World War II to receive a court-martial, and he would be found guilty later, and he would actually commit suicide about 20, 30 years later after World War II over all the guilt he felt and all the hate mail he really got from families of the USS Indianapolis and the crew. So it's really sad story, but really significant history. The USS Indianapolis was a very decorated warship in the U.S. Navy prior to its sinking. So, anyway, let's move on to how she is in game. USS Indianapolis, absolutely love this thing. This is one of my first. Premium heavy cruisers. Really love it. Absolutely can't get enough of it. Still play it to this day. I've got 1.4 million Elite XP in this ship. It's just so good. But the reason why this thing is so good is she has the best radar at Tier 6. 9.9 kilometer radar at Tier 6 is insane, with a 25-second duration. Phenomenal. She's got a sonar. She's got really good utility. Indianapolis is a very solid pick to play in competitive games. One thing to mention, too, is her guns. Her guns are phenomenal. Guns are phenomenal. They are American 203mm guns. They're very good. Penetration angles are improved, all that jazz. Super heavy armor piercing. Oh my god, the guns on Indianapolis are phenomenal. And the maneuverability, really solid as well. The range, really solid as well. The AA overall, pretty good. I forgot to mention the Prince Eugen that we covered in the number 5 spot also has some pretty good AA too. But overall, Indianapolis is really solid all across the board, except in the armor department. This is where the Indianapolis struggles. She's a Tier 6 cruiser. Like most Tier 6 cruisers, you don't get a lot of armor yet. There's some that do have some pretty good armor, but Indianapolis, unfortunately, does not get a lot of armor. She's only got 16mm of bow and stern plating, which means anything with 8-inch guns are just going to punch straight through your bow like butter. Or maybe 10-inch guns? I don't remember. But any battleships at Tier 6 and 5 will overmatch you, no problems at all. So that's something to worry about. But most people should know by now, if you're playing Tier 6 cruisers, that you need to be using island cover, concealment, and all that jazz. But I know all that. I'm a really skilled player. I've been playing for 4 years. And, well, I make the Indianapolis work, baby. I make it work. Using cover, popping those radars, getting those destroyers off the board, helping your team with fire support. That's what Indianapolis does best. Absolutely love it. And that's why she's taking my number 4 spot on the top 5 list here. Now, let's move on to the top 3. My number 3 pick of my most favorite cruisers has to go. This is going to be shocking for some of you guys, I know. But it goes to none other than the Tier 4 tech tree American light cruiser USS Omaha. Now, I don't know much of the history of the Omaha other than she was a scout cruiser. There was quite a few Omaha classes made, and this is not going to be the only Omaha in this list. There's going to be one after. I'm not going to spoil it, but we'll just cover what the Omaha, why I love it so much. A lot of people always are like, why do you like the Omahas so much? Well, it's because they're fun. They're glass cannons, okay? This is a light cruiser, the first light cruiser on the list. If you take a look at her firepower is phenomenal. She's got I think a 10-gun broadside. Lots of firepower. 152 millimeter classic 6-inch guns. These are rapid firing, high fire chance, lots of HE spam, and lots of DPM potential. And don't let the AP fool you either. The AP is also really effective as well against cruisers, against battleships and their superstructures, you name it. Omaha has some very good firepower, and that's what makes the Omahas so good. That, and the fact that the maneuverability on the Omahas is some of the best at the tier. Top freaking notch, damn near destroyer levels of maneuverability from these light cruisers. 34 knot speed on my build, 600 meter turning circle radius on a light cruiser is very good, and a 5-second rudder on my build. Pretty solid all around. Really decent agility. The only downside, obviously, AA, not too good. It's an Omaha scout cruiser. This was a post-World War II ship, so 1920s. Yeah, didn't have a lot of AA at all, like most American ships before Pearl Harbor. She also has 6 torpedoes per side. They're really low range, so they're more for like the oh shit category when someone pulls up on you, surprise attacks you at close range. That's what these are for. And also, yeah, all around, Omaha's solid. Maneuverability, speed, concealment, everything's good about it, except the armor. The armor is where the Omaha struggles. 10 millimeters of armor everywhere. You have no armor. Like, you have no armor. When I mean you have no armor, I mean every shell that hits you is probably going to do damage. So, what you want to be doing is playing this ship with a head on a swivel, dodging, using cover, all the stuff. And that's what I love about the Omaha. It does that so well. Using island cover, getting in between rocks, popping off shots, setting loads of fires, sneaking up on cruisers, absolutely destroying their broadsides. It is super fun. If you guys can manage to actually get good and actually position well, you can have a really good time in these Omaha class light cruisers. They're really fun. They make up for the bad armor in maneuverability, speed, and firepower. That's what the Americans are all about. They may not all necessarily have the best armor like the Indianapolis, but they do have very solid firepower. And also, I forgot to mention, the Omaha also has sonars and catapult fighters. They're not as good as like German sonar by any means, but you still have some level of utility. So that can be really nice. So yeah, Omaha just has a special place in my heart. Absolutely love this ship. Yeah, it's taken my number 3 spot on my top 5 list of cruisers. And now we're moving into the number 2 spots. Number 1 and 2 here. We're going to start off with number 2. Now, this one took me a minute. I was like trying to think, do I want to do another American? I'm like, yeah, I do. American cruisers in this game, that's where I started, and I absolutely love American cruisers. More than battleships, even more than destroyers. I am a cruiser main. If I had to choose a class to play for the rest of my life, it would be cruisers. Cruisers, cruisers, cruisers. And the number 2 spot goes to none other than the Tier 7 American Tech Tree Heavy Cruiser USS Baltimore. Does it feel good to say that, man? Baltimore. Absolutely love this ship. This was my very first Tier 7 Tech Tree Cruiser I ever got. Right after the Iowa, I went for the Baltimore, and then the Fletcher, and then I went on to the Japanese, researched the Amagi, went on to, I think, the British battleships, researched those. So, yeah, Baltimore has a special place in my heart, as it was my second Tech Tree Tier 7 ship. Absolutely love it to this day. I don't have as much XP in it because it's not a premium. I mainly play my premium ships, which have usually more XP. But, yeah, overall, Baltimore is so good. One of the most strongest cruisers at Tier 7 to this day. The guns are, oh my god, the armor, good. Everything about the ship is good. We're going to get right into it. So the loadout, you got high explosive, you got armor piercing, obviously. You got the American sonars, 4.4 kilometer detection ships, pretty decent. Not German by any means, but it's still decent. And you have radars. The Baltimore is a radar cruiser, 9 kilometer range, 30-second duration. You got heals as well. Overall, the Baltimore, super competitive cruiser. Very, very good utility with this ship for helping your team with destroyers, providing fire support. Baltimore can do everything. Baltimore is one of the most versatile cruisers in the game, okay? This is not the only one, though. There's plenty of other cruisers out there, but Baltimore takes my... I would put it number 1, but I can't, unfortunately. But Baltimore, absolutely love this thing. I play it in all my competitive games. I play this ship the most in fleet battles, if I had to guess. Really solid all around in terms of utility. And the next thing I want to talk about is the survivability. The Prince Eugen has 45,000. Well, the Baltimore is right behind that at 42,400 hit points. Really solid hit points. Pretty survivable. The only downside is your torpedo protection is really low, like the Prince Eugen we covered earlier. The Prince Eugen actually has a 10% torpedo reduction. Baltimore has a 4%. So you do not want to be taking torpedoes whatsoever. Moving on to the artillery. Now this is also where the Baltimore just gets so good. Baltimore, in my opinion, it's not even an opinion. I think it's covered by a lot of facts. These guns are some of the most deadly guns at Tier 7. These 8-inch guns, these super heavy 203mm Mark 15 8-inch guns are some of the best guns in the entire game. These guns will rip apart battleships. These guns will rip apart cruisers. These guns will rip apart destroyers. They do it all. These guns are fucking great. Nobody can tell me otherwise. They're accurate. They smack super hard in terms of broadsides. It's not uncommon to Citadel cruisers and even battleships out to medium to long ranges. It really isn't. I've Citadel plenty of cruisers that just thought they were far away enough that I won't hurt them, and I triple or quad Citadel them, take all their health at 15 kilometers. People do not expect these super heavy American 203mm 8-inch guns that come down barreling down on them. Fucking great guns. Don't believe me? Well, that's too bad. But Baltimore, I think, is the king of American Tier 7, or just king of Tier 7 cruisers in general. This thing is fucking awesome. Moving on to the AA. AA is really good. Maneuverability, pretty average for the tier for a heavy cruiser. Nothing too special there. One of the downsides, it's a little sluggish, but I don't care. The Baltimore is not meant to be agile. It's meant to be sitting in there, taking some hits, getting into those caps, not getting into them necessarily, but using an island as cover, getting up closer, popping your radars, getting destroyers off the cap, helping with cruisers, doing all the things. Baltimore does it all pretty well. And, of course, the armor. The armor is really good as well. 27mm of armor everywhere. So this means anything like we covered in the Prince Eugen section, number 5 on the list, has the same armor scheme, 27mm everywhere. This armor can ricochet shells up to 15 inches. Armor-piercing shells, that is. So Bismarcks that shoot AP to you, just go bow in, you'll be fine. Or even go stern on like this. You will be A-OK. Now, if they load high explosive, that's a different story. They will overmatch you and get penetrations that way. That's one thing to worry about. High explosive spam is an issue, but usually you can take out those HE spammers pretty easily with those guns, and especially if you have support. Okay? Overall, Baltimore, super solid. Good armor. Good, great utility. Fantastic guns. Decent maneuverability for heavy cruiser. Not the best in the world, but it's a heavy cruiser. This thing has great firepower. That's what it's all about. It's a firing platform, utility radar cruiser. It's so good all around. Absolutely love it to this day, and that's why it's taken my number 2 spot. But there's one more pick we got to get to. The number 1 spot. The number 1 spot. This is going to shock a lot of you guys, but over the past 2-3 years, this ship, I play it at least once a day, if not a few times a week, when I do my premium supplies or just when I want to have some fun. I told you guys there's going to be another Omaha class cruiser in this game, in this list here, and I'm sure most of you guys, if you are long-term viewers of the channel, know what this ship is. But it has a special place in my heart, and that is none other than the Tier 4 Premium American Light Cruiser USS Marblehead. It's weird that this is my number 1 pick. It's probably not necessarily the best cruiser at Tier 4. This is more of an opinion-based pick here for number 1. But over the past few years I've been playing this game, I absolutely fell in love with the Omahas. And, you know, when I was starting out this game, I was playing lots of Omahas when I was getting into cruisers and just trying to grind credits. I didn't have a lot of premium ships at the time, so I played a lot of medium to low-tier ships that earn credits, 200, 300k a game. Omaha was one of them. And then when I got my hands on the Marblehead, it's a premium version. I was like, oh, I love this thing. Absolutely fell in love with it. And I still play it here and there to this day. And it's just like the Omaha. Great firepower. Great freaking maneuverability. Great speed, as you guys can see. And the history of the Marblehead, I haven't even got into yet. There's a great history video. The history guy, he made an awesome video. I'm actually going to put it in the description of this video. Fan-fucking-tastic video he made about the voyage of the USS Marblehead. I'm going to go a little bit into history. This is also why I also love this ship. USS Marblehead was a part of the Asiatic Fleet during World War II. This was the fleet that was near the Philippines. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, they also attacked the Philippines. They attacked islands all over. And they ultimately took the Philippines. And the USS Marblehead was a part of the Asiatic Fleet. Basically, the Asiatic Fleet was the only fleet in that region. It was USS Marblehead, USS Houston, and there was also some Australian ships that came in and assisted us as well. But ultimately, that was basically a throwaway fleet that we had down there just in case shit happened. And shit did happen. Japanese attacked us, and USS Marblehead came under lots of fire during the World War II. I don't remember the battle, but she was getting absolutely bombarded by shells and by planes, mainly bombs. I believe one of the bombs struck her in the rear here, hitting her engine room, but the crew of the USS Marblehead managed to get everything up and repaired. She took so many hits, and yet she was able to get fully repaired, or not fully repaired, but mostly repaired, and she slowly limped away. And I'm actually going to put up a picture of on the screen here of the actual route of the USS Marblehead from the Philippines in that area, all the way down the Horn of Africa, all the way down south, all the way through the South Atlantic into the North Atlantic, all the way back to harbor in New York. Absolutely crazy. This ship literally almost frickin' circumnavigated the globe while it was heavily damaged. And yeah, an awesome story. I didn't get too deep into it in this video. It would take me a while. But like I said, if you guys want to know some awesome history about this ship, about the voyage and the crew of this ship, and what they managed to do after succumbing to so many hits from Japanese attacks, you guys need to go watch the video. USS Marblehead survived the whole war. The USS Houston, which is I think it was a Northampton class heavy cruiser, actually sunk along with HMAS Perth. And this ship actually outlived both of those ships. And funny enough, they're both more modern and more battle-capable ships. So the Marblehead is one of the sole survivors of the Asiatic Fleet. Pretty freaking hilarious. History is funny with this ship. I love it. And yeah, like I said, go watch that video. I'm going to put the first link in the description down below. Absolutely love it. He goes perfectly in depth. But Marblehead, man, has a special place in my heart. I don't know why. I just love Omahas so much. But yeah, there's 2 of them on this list. I know. Crazy. But that's just me. This is more of an opinion-based pick here. If I was actually taking this more seriously, I'd probably put the Baltimore where the Marblehead is. But no, I can't, man. Yeah, I just love this ship. It's so much fun. And yeah, I have a special place in my heart for Omahas for some reason. So anyway, yeah, weirdly enough, huh? So I hope you all did enjoy today's video. That's my top 5 list of cruisers. Number 5 was the Prince Eugen. Number 4, Indianapolis. Number 3, Omaha. Number 2, Baltimore. And right here, number 1 is my Marblehead, man. Absolutely love this ship. Love the history of it, although I don't remember most of the history of it. There's a lot of shit to talk about. But yeah, I'll leave that video, though, in the link in the description if some of you guys want to go watch it. Great video from that from the history guy over there. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that's going to go and do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, go down there and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button because we're getting super close to our next milestone. We're trying to work our way up. Yeah, nonetheless, everybody, make sure to go down there and also leave your lists. Do you guys have a top 5 list of cruisers? Put them down below. I'm super interested in hearing what you guys have to say. And yeah, I do reply to most of you. I do read most of my comments. But yeah, anyway, nonetheless, I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out. Stay healthy, as always, and happy holidays.